Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. It is Thursday, January 19th. I'm Chris Yow, joined as always by Maurice Patton. We are happy to be here as the backside of the week has come and is very nice. I mean, I'm wearing this sweater vest. You're wearing that quarter zip, but honestly, we could probably go without it. It is super nice outside.
I could go without it now
For a moment. That's right. You can't, not all day,
not later today,
but just right now. It is perfect outside.
Absolutely.
This is what we call false spring. For those of you who don't know, if you're not from here, which is a good possibility, this is not real. It's a figment of your imagination. It will not be like this tomorrow, much less next week. So just so you know, don't get excited. It's not spring yet. This is false spring. All right.
Don't go unpacking the shorts.
That's right. Now that we've got that out the way, got a good
PSA.
The PSA. That's right. We got that out of the way, and we have a good show for you. Richland boys basketball coach Jason Lovelace will join us. I hope he notices.
I'm sure if he doesn't, he will.
Yeah. So he'll join us and talk about his third-ranked Raiders. We'll also talk with John Brice of footballscoop.com. He's going to talk a little bit about the transfer portal, and Ole Miss's transfer portal got really interesting today as they got another transfer portal quarterback. Yeah, that's right. They got
another one.
They got another one. So, the answer to my question.
Where's DJ Khaled when you need him?
The answer to the question I posed to you off air yesterday gets even more complicated. But we'll talk about that and what it means for a lot of these players and
what it means for a lot of these coaches. I got questions.
We've got questions, and hopefully he'll have answers. We'll also talk about the Athletic. They released their their way too early top 25. And we'll also have the AP polls.
At least there's truth in advertising there.
It is way too early.
That's way too early.
And we have thoughts. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. All of that and much, much more on this episode of Main Street Sports today. Before we get into our show, we need to get you yesterday's results, some of today's results, and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Girls high school basketball action from Wednesday night. Rossview defeated Clarksville Northwest 52-32, and the Webb School defeated Battleground Academy 83-25. On the boys' side, it was Rossview 82, Clarksville Northwest 52. Boys bowling from yesterday, Connor Butt secured Columbia Academy's first individual boys bowling state championship, defeated Cole Frazier from Christian Brothers in the finals to win that. Today, the Columbia Academy boys team advanced in the state tournament with a 19-4 quarterfinal win over Boyd Buchanan. In junior college men's basketball action yesterday, Columbia State defeated Dyersburg State on the road 69-65. And in the association, it was the Grizzlies picking up win number 11 in a row with a 115-114 win over Cleveland.
Try tonight's schedule, doubleheader action with girls to start, boys to follow. Antioch is hosting Lee Huntsville out of Alabama. Laverne will go to Blackman. Franklin Classville is at FC Boyd Christian. That's at 6 o'clock. Lee at Antioch is at 5 o'clock, FYI. And Clarksville at Rossview also at 6. In boys bowling action tomorrow at 9 a.m., Columbia Academy will take on St. Benedict at Smyrna, and the championship match will be held at 12 noon. So enjoy that.
Yeah. Oh, my turn. College basketball this evening, doubleheader action. Northwood is at Trevecca. That's a 5:30 tip for the women with the men to follow. 4:30, Cumberland is at Campbellsville. Again, that's women first, men after. UT Southern goes to Lindsey Wilson. That's a 5:30 p.m. start for the women. And also at 5:30 at Gentry Center, or Club Gentry, as I've seen it referred to. Tennessee State hosts Eastern Illinois in Ohio Valley Conference action. That game can be seen on ESPN Plus, again, beginning at 5:30. Women's basketball action this evening at 5 o'clock. Middle Tennessee State is at Charlotte. That's on ESPN Plus. At 5:30, Florida is at the Thompson Bowling Arena against the Lady Vols. Don't know if they'll be wearing their Summit Blues again or not, but that game again starts at 5:30, and it can be seen on ESPN. I'm sorry, on the SEC Network. At 6 o'clock on SEC Network Plus, South Carolina comes to Memorial Gym to take on the Commodore women. Let's see. Also at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus, you've got Lipscomb at the University of North Alabama. And at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, Austin Peay is at Central Arkansas.
Men's action tonight, Charlotte will be at the Glass House at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus to take on Middle Tennessee State. Eastern Kentucky will be at Lipscomb at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, and also at 7 o'clock at Austin Peay. Bellarmine will be taking on the Governors. That's also on ESPN Plus. And on Valley Sports South tonight, the Predators will be at St. Louis for a 7 p.m. puck drop against the Blues. And that is your rundown. Well, we got quite a bit of high school news to go through here, and we're going to get there. So let's start with today's big news, as the TSSAA has officially sanctioned lacrosse as a championship sport. Now,
what that means, so during my, I even hate to say this, during my Hall of Fame induction last Friday night, also being inducted was Scott Schultz, the founding coach of Franklin High School girls lacrosse.
Gotcha.
And we were talking about what was going on with lacrosse and with the TSSAA. And one of the concerns is, when you've got some oversight, things change. And if you recall, when we talked with Mark Reeves a few weeks ago, the executive director of the TSSAA, one of the concerns about bringing lacrosse on board was getting officials and paying officials. Apparently, lacrosse officials are making about $140 a game, from what I understand. The Board of Control last week approved officials' fees in the event that the sport was approved, and I think they approved $100 per game.
Okay. Which is that's good money. Don't get me wrong.
Well, unless you're used to making 140.
Yeah. You know, basketball makes about 70, I think. Or
I think
75.
football makes about 110.
Well, in basketball though, you get 2 games.
Mm-hmm. You get a boys game and a girls game?
That's right.
Okay.
So it's 140.
Okay. Well, like I said, football gets 110.
Right.
So
I'm curious if they do it by the general time frame that you would be there. I don't know how that has.
I guess I would imagine there's a number of different factors in how they come up with that number, but
are lacrosse officials going to be willing to do it? Probably, because there won't be unsanctioned lacrosse.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
So it's this $100 or nothing, potentially. I mean, I don't.
You're not wrong. I mean, that's a heck of a way to look at it, but it is a way to look at it. Yeah, I mean,
I hate it for the officials. As someone who officiates, I would certainly much rather have 140. And there will be some people. When I say us, most officials don't do it for the money, because most of us aren't getting paid very well at all.
Yeah,
but
you don't do it for the money, but you'd rather have 140 than 100.
There will be some people who won't officiate because of it. They'll say it's not worth my time. I mean, that's just that's going to be a problem. Now,
the good thing is this is being sanctioned. Lacrosse was sanctioned for the 24-25 school year. So I guess they've still got some time to iron some things out, maybe adjust those fees. Maybe adjust some other fees so that lacrosse doesn't stand out like a sore thumb.
Maybe. But yeah, so, oh no, get that off there.
What was that?
Exactly what you think it was.
Justin.
Dude, no.
Was that not pertinent to?
We'll talk later. We'll talk off air.
I'm not surprised that they sanctioned. I'm a little surprised at the timing, considering they decided not to do it at the previous meeting.
Well, and this was a special called meeting today to do it. But again, because I think, again, as we talk to Mark Reeves, I think the officials' fees were certainly if not the hang up.
Gotcha. Well, maybe they talked to the officials and the officials said, yeah, I guess we can do it for that if it's going to be a championship sport. Because here's the thing. The season's probably going to be a little bit longer. There will be a lot more schools who will participate if it's a championship.
You think?
Sanctions.
I'm interested to see how that.
I do think it will grow. I don't think it's going to be, every school immediately, but
Absolutely.
I do think there will be a lot more of the 3A, 4A basketball level schools. The bigger schools will probably pick it up.
Yeah.
If I had to guess. I don't think you're going to see, Richland and Summertown. Summertown's girls, though, if they're going to do it,
look out for them. Yeah. I'm interested to see, what season they play in. Will they play girls and boys separately? There's a lot of fascinating sidelights to this, I think.
Well, perhaps if you play girls and boys in one night, like basketball, the officials would get $200 a night. I don't know.
I wonder, are lacrosse players playing other sports? And if so, how does that work?
Yeah, there's
a lot.
One would think that lacrosse players probably do play soccer. And here's the thing. Are you going to play on the soccer fields? Are you going to have 2 different lines for soccer fields? Are all these Williamson County schools who had just got turf don't have lacrosse lines on them? So now what?
And if you're playing girls and boys lacrosse and you've got girls and boys soccer, do you try to get them separate? again,
It's
a
gonna
lot
be
here.
interesting. A lot to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, a couple other things. One, Austin P got a steal in the football market as Malachi Dowell, the White County athlete who was.
Did you ever get a
unfortunately-
chance to see him? I did
mean,
not.
just on
I've-
an FHS, who was robbed of Mr. Football in some eyes.
well, now the Carnes kid, did he get it last year?
Yeah.
So he's 2-time.
Yes.
Okay. Last year he deserved it.
Absolutely.
Deshaun Bishop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Malachi Dowell deserved some more love than he got. That's all I'm going to say. But he will now head to Austin P.
Well,
Like you said, that's a steal.
now, according to 24/7 Sports that I'm sitting here looking at right now, his other offers were Bethel, Cumberland, Eastern, and Hanover.
That's ridiculous. Somebody's missing something.
5'10", 185. Now, I don't know. I don't know if he's a okay, Tech and Martin had also offered him. I don't know if he's a running back or if he's a receiver.
At 5'10",
But he's dynamic.
At 5'10", he's, after what I saw of him, it doesn't matter what he plays. Get him the ball in space and let him go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. He's a space guy. He's a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. And if you can get him the football, whether it's a jet, whether it's a screen, whether it's a slant, it doesn't matter. Just get the football into his hands. Period. Let him make plays.
I don't.
And Austin P will do that.
Yeah, I think so. I think Scotty Walden will be a for him. So
good for him.
Yeah, great for him. He gets to be relatively close to home. Being from Sparta and playing at Austin P.
Marin Angus Coombs says that she has answered all of our questions about lacrosse.
Oh, really? Okay.
And her answer number one is lacrosse was sanctioned before hockey. What is this gibberish? I don't think do they have they probably have fewer options for hockey outside of Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean,
I know
not a whole lot of ice in Dyersburg or
but there are plenty
Cookville.
of grass fields that you can paint.
So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I guess that's the only reason why.
And I will tell you, Marin, I'm not sure that hockey is necessarily looking to be sanctioned. And
and after lacrosse has been, I'm not sure they're excited about it.
yeah. It's like the dog chasing the car, you know.
What do you do when you catch it?
Yep. So
here's that. Before we get out of here, I want to mention there's a situation in Alabama that I have been pretty vocal about on social media, as have most media members. The head baseball coach at Hoover High School was asked and accepted a position as an assistant coach for Team USA to play in the World Cup of baseball. One of his players was also deemed good enough to be on the team. Because
and therein lies the problem.
Because the coach and the player were considered, he was considered to have coached his own player during the offseason. He has been suspended for the entirety of the 2023 baseball season and will not be able to coach Hoover this year. Now, the problem here, thank you. That's a beautiful hat, by the way, for Bucks.
It looks like the Chicago Bears, and so Hoover probably needs to be careful with that.
It's close. It's close.
A little cease and desist letter will be in the mail here pretty soon.
I guess the XFL's New York Hitmen can't get them for that H anymore, can they? Number one, he coached the pitchers. The player was an outfielder. There was ample documentation handed to the AHSAA saying he did not coach this player. The player was a position player. This guy was a pitching coach. There was no interaction, no reason for him to be there. Two, it's Team USA. You have the opportunity to represent your country, to play in the World Cup.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that one just a second, because how far do you take that? I mean, if you're looking at it on a case-by-case basis, which is what this would be. Again, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but
that's the line. It can't be, some travel team. It can't be. I'm talking the official Team USA. And there is an official Team USA.
No,
That's the line. I'm not talking all-star games. We had that issue in TSSAA where they couldn't play fall all-star games because it was in the school year.
Right.
They changed that rule because the TSSAA has common sense sometimes. But for all of the good that AHSAA does in regards to its championships and how they do their playoff systems, I like them better than the TSSAA's playoff systems. I've made that clear. This is where the TSSAA is far and away better than the AHSAA. They don't typically use black and white rules. They usually have some sort of common sense about them. And here's my question.
I will tell you that the clarification that I've received is that this same scenario in Tennessee would be considered a violation of the practice rule, which means that the only sanctions against the baseball program would be a loss of practice time, potentially a loss of contests, certainly no sanctions against any individuals, be they coaches or athletes. And the coach at Hoover is taking the hit because either he couldn't coach or the player, is it RJ Hamilton? Is that his name?
Yeah.
It's a Vanderbilt commit/signee, by the way. Either the coach couldn't coach or the player couldn't play this year.
The coach is not going to coach.
Well,
you got a Vanderbilt kid.
You say that.
you got. I mean, I'm certain that most coaches would take that.
Mm-hmm.
And nonetheless, it's ridiculous. This is not the first time the AHSAA has done something ridiculous like this. It was 2 years ago. There was another situation with a Team USA
athlete. It was a girls basketball player from Charles Henderson.
Yep.
In Pike County.
Yep.
Pike County, home of Chris Nixon.
Troy is where Charles Henderson is, but yes, they play their home games at Movie Gallery Stadium or Memorial Stadium now. But
is that not in Pike County?
It is,
but it's not Pike County High School.
Right. Pike County is a little different.
Oh, so you have to
Troy,
differentiate between
if you
those.
don't, they get mad. Troy will be real mad at you. Okay. They don't even claim to be from Pike County. We're just from Troy. Anyway, AHSA is ridiculous. There's more to the story. We can talk about it later, but Jason,
the point is, sometimes the TSSAA gets it right. So just keep that in mind when you're railing on them.
Please. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Jason Loveless is standing by. So we will take a short break here. When we come back, hand out some hardware, talk to Jason Loveless. Stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bar and Joint. Back after this.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton, going to hand out a little hardware.
Before we hand out hardware, and we're going to get to Jason Loveless in just a second, but before we get to him and before we bring him on, I want to know where you found a picture of him with a tie.
School website.
Okay. All
It's
right.
the only place.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll let him rebut that when we bring him on, but I just wanted to.
He's going to be like, I don't even remember wearing this tie. We'll hand out some hardware real quick before we get to Coach Loveless and the End-to-Win Life Team of the Week, brought to you by our friends at Custom Stone Handlers, CustomStonehandlers.com. This week's Team of the Week is
the Richland Lady Raiders, who are ranked for the second week. After picking up a couple of victories last week, defeated Collinwood 69-49 and defeated Santa Fe pretty handily. Yeah. In District 10-1A action. So the Lady Raiders, Chad Hall's bunch.
Coach Chad Hall.
Yeah, boys assistant coach Chad
He'll
Hall.
tell you all about the AHSAA too. Just ask him. We go now to our Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint player or athlete of the week.
Athlete of the week.
That's right. And that one goes to Summit's Quinn Johnston.
The junior bomber. Yes. She's got 82 threes in 19 games.
I don't even know. How do you just not put somebody in her face and don't move? I don't know. It's crazy.
I don't know, but John Wild is hoping that nobody that coaches against them is listening to you. So again, she's got 82 threes on the year. She averaged 22 points and a pair of road wins last week at Siegel and where else? At Brentwood. 25.7 threes against Brentwood. That's not a bad night.
It's a pretty good night. Good night. So congrats to Quinn and congrats to the Lady Raiders for their awards. We go now to Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. Fine folks, Renee and all of the staff at From the Heart Cafe, keeping you fed and happy, whether it be breakfast in the breakfast barn or, of course, catering, lunch, doesn't matter. They're going to keep you fed.
And you can order online.
And you can order online from the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. We go now to Coach Jason Loveless of the third-ranked Richland Raiders. Coach,
the tieless.
Yeah, no tie.
Jason Loveless.
No tie. If I could get away with a sweater vest and a button down like Chris there, I would do it. But our principal makes us wear ties for a pitcher day. So
there you go.
Okay. All right. You're working too hard to wear a tie, Coach. We get it. We understand. The Raiders coming in at 15-3, 4-0 in District 10-1A play following Tuesday's 62-17 win over at Hampshire. So, Coach, you guys are doing what folks have gotten accustomed to Richland boys basketball doing here over the last few years, I guess.
Well, we're working hard. I don't want our players to get accustomed to it, as far as it for winning and hard work to be something that they just take for granted. I want them to stay hungry, and hopefully they will. But it's pretty early, but at this point, we're pleased with our effort and pleased with where we are for sure. Definitely, I've been on the flip end of this before, so we're in a good spot mid-January, and trying to get geared up for February and March.
At the risk of stealing a question from Chris, because this is a conversation we've had before, but you've lost a lot of really talented guys over the last couple of years, and yet you've been able to maintain this level of competitive success. What is it about this team particularly that has allowed you to, overcome some of the losses from the past couple of years and be as good as y'all have been to this point?
Right. That's a really good question, because going into this year, you just really don't know. Losing two really elite guards in Trey Luna and Tyrell Randolph, one of, if not the best point guard I've ever coached. And so for 4 years with Tyrell, you know, after he's gone, we're looking around like, uh-oh. And so we go into the season. And the good thing about this group right here, so I would say that how we've gotten to this point is they love being around each other. They love competing in practice. They're in the weight room right now together. They just care about each other and have each other's back. I think their camaraderie off the floor translates to how we play on the floor, if that makes any sense.
Well, you know, there are some guys on this team who have been there through this entire run. Guys like Jace Derryberry, Colton Trimble, and even Gage Kirk as junior. Having that leadership from guys who understand how to win, that makes a difference when you've got guys in the locker room who know how to get it done and have seen it done over the last couple of years. How much does that impact this team? It's
huge, Chris. You know, you're talking about Jace. He's the 6th year, a senior, so to speak. You know, if you were talking in college terms, he's been with me since the 6th grade. And he's always played a complementary role around guys. He's always been a 3rd or 4th option, and that's not a bad 3rd or 4th option to have when you can have somebody like that. But when we had Daniel and Logan, you know, he was down the pecking order. So it really comes down to those guys accepting their roles. And when you talk about a guy like Gage, who's been on the state tournament team, and even the sophomores that we have, our 3 starters, Andrew Huff and Carter Edwards and Luke Jones, they're experienced sophomores. They're not super green. So they've been in tough ball games. They've been in tight ball games, and hopefully that'll show up in February and March.
And Coach, when you can work, excuse me, 3 sophomores into your starting lineup, play at a high level like this, I know you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but that really kind of bodes well for down the road as well, doesn't it? When you can get young guys that kind of base of experience to go forward with.
Sure. And it sets the tone for our freshmen and our 8th graders coming up. We had a large group of 8th graders, some of which have joined the team this year. Those sophomores set the tone. And for our freshmen and our 8th graders who are coming up, you know, one kid that is unheralded is Andrew Huff. He's not going to fill your stat sheet up. You know, I think his leading his season high this year is 16 points, but he does so many little things for us. He reminds us of Jace Derryberry when Jace was, you know, that sophomore, junior. So it's just a good group that cares about each other. And the best part about this team, what makes us, I think, I'm not going to say dangerous, but hard to figure out or hard to guard, is we're so balanced. I mean, I sent you the stats the other day, and it's not like we have any stars. We're not going to wow you away with our stats or anything like that when it comes to points per game from a player or anything like that. We're just really balanced, and it could be Gage one night, it could be Luke the next night, it could be Carter the next night. Jace obviously is going to hop in there. Jamison Andrews and Cooper Jackson coming in as freshmen. So we're just really balanced.
And Gage is a tough guard for you, I would think, at the 1A level in particular, because of the way he can step away. Because at his height, you obviously want to try to defend him with a post, but he can step away, and either he's going to drag somebody out there with him or he's going to be guarded by a shorter guy that he can shoot over. So it kind of looks like he's kind of the offensive X factor for you guys to some degree.
Well, you know, going back to last year, Chris and I talked about it after a game down here. He was the X factor last year, and he is certainly an X factor this year. He can step out and shoot the ball. He can handle the ball really well. He's the guy that throws it in on our press breakers sometimes. Sometimes it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes we'd like for him to be inside a little bit more when he is outside, but he can be a matchup problem for teams that guard him with a bigger, slower guy, because he can handle the ball and shoot it.
You mentioned Luke Jones earlier, sophomore, plays power forward center. He also, pretty tall kid. And at the Class A level, having a couple guys 6'4", 6'5", that's not typical. So that has to be something that you guys feel like you can exploit going into district and region play going forward.
Absolutely. They're, Luke 6'4", Gage 6'5", real rangy, long guys. And we're still trying to figure out how to use them in ways. I was listening to you guys talk about the Johnston girl from Summit from Coach Wild. And Chris asked the question, how do you not just stay on her the entire time? Well, that's a coach's job, is to make sure that you put pressure on the defense. And so we're trying to find ways to utilize Luke and Gage, whether they're both on the floor at the same time, which is a lot of the case, or sometimes when they're not on the floor at the same time. Offensively and defensively, we're trying to utilize their height. They're not your prototypical 6'4", 6'5" guys who are slow and slow-footed. They're also, handle the ball really well. Luke pushes the break. Gage handles the ball, shoots it well. Luke can shoot the ball. So they're unique, and we're still trying to figure out how to use them, to be honest with you.
It can't be easy. I mean, even as you being the coach, it's not typical.
Right.
So good
Right.
luck. That's all I can tell
I think
you.
we'll figure it out somehow, some way. We'll get things wrong, but we'll get it right.
I bet you will. District action continues for Richland tomorrow night when they host Culleoka before going on the road for a couple of matchups next week at Wayne County and at Collinwood. Goodness. Back-to-back trips to Wayne County, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's the way the draw happens.
Yeah, getting those frequent bus miles. And then on Tuesday, January 31st, the Raiders go to Santa Fe. No. They host Santa Fe. I'm sorry. If I could read, I'd be dangerous. Raiders host Santa Fe after defeating the Wildcats 54-33 over at their place a couple of weeks ago. So you two have kind of emerged at the top of that district, and that game has kind of become must-see TV, so to speak, in that district here over the last couple of years. Met 4 times last year. Is that right? 4? Twice in the regular season, in the district finals, and in the region finals. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
You guys are awfully familiar with each other.
We are, and it's always fun whenever we play, for sure. Coach Lauder does a great job, and it's turned into a really good rivalry. But, I'm sorry, I don't want to play devil's advocate here, but sometimes when Chris is talking, Mr. Patton does that. So with this team right here, we're just trying to teach them one game at a time. We, even though we do have guys who are seasoned, Jace and Gage and Luke and those guys, we're still young. And so if they start sipping the poison, and that's what we told them, if you start drinking on the poison a little bit and start worrying about things outside that really don't matter, then that's when things can slip up and haunt you down the road. So we've got a huge, anytime you have a game against a school that's 15 miles from you, it's going to be a good rivalry. So we got a good game Friday night, tomorrow night with Culleoka here at our place. That's going to be extremely tough.
He pulled a Nick Saban on me, but this Culleoka team, they've got some weapons as well. No, that's okay. It's okay. I understand. But Culleoka is a team that, like you said, they can get you if you're not careful. Bo Gillum in the middle, and they've got some guards that can pose some problems as well. So this will be the first time you've played them. I'm sure you've seen them, but just kind of expound a little bit on what you're expecting out of them, what you're concerned with out of them.
Well, like you said, I mean, the Gillum kid is a really good post player. He can make a lot of difficult shots. He rebounds the ball well, and then you've got 3 or 4 guards on the outside that are capable of making shots. And that's always puts you in a bind. You've got to guard the 3-point line, and you got to do a really good job of your paint defense, and you got to do all that without fouling. So that's going to be our focus today in practice is just playing defense without fouling.
Coach Jason Loveless with us here on Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. Renee Hart, fine folks out there keeping you fed, keeping you happy. Coach, just want to say thanks for the prop here that
I
we
love
have
it.
here on screen. It's been well used, and we appreciate that. But looking forward to the rest of this season and what you guys are able to accomplish, and hope we'll get the chance to get down to Linville to see you soon.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, the ball looks like it's been worn out a little bit. I'm thinking like in between takes, maybe you guys got a hoop in there that, y'all wearing it out. So
Trust me, if it was being shot with, it wasn't being made with. That's for sure. So, yeah.
Speak for yourself.
We will try our best. We'll try our best to get you another one. So
that'd be great. We look forward to that. We'd make room for it. Jason Lovelace, the boys basketball coach at Richland, joining us here on Coach's Corner. Coach, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us and covering our student athletes. They work hard and really appreciate you guys on and off the floor, and really appreciate you guys covering them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about the AP polls as well as the state wrestling poll. So more high school on this Prep Thursday right after this.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. A great conversation there with Jason Lovelace. He always brings some unique perspective, and they've got a great basketball program down there at Richland right now, both boys and girls, as they're both ranked in the top 10 and have been very good throughout, getting into the region play, getting, obviously Richland making that run to the state tournament a couple of years ago. It's just been a lot of fun covering those Raiders down there. So if you haven't gotten a chance to go down to Linville, check out 31 South barbecue and get the pulled pork Philly or whatever they call it. It's delicious. They've got great.
Hopefully they'll have the chocolate fried pies when you go. The last couple of times I've been, they haven't. So
if they don't, and you don't, and you're okay with raisins, the bread pudding is good.
I'm not okay with raisins.
Plenty of deliciousness to be had there on the way down to a great gymnasium. I mean, really,
the Dwight Clark Gymnasium.
Yes, but not that Dwight Clark. I made that.
Well, it depends on where you are as to who that Dwight Clark is. First of all,
not the.
You're talking about the 49ers receiver.
Famous.
Yeah, no,
not the catch Dwight Clark.
No, not that Dwight Clark. But
yeah,
this Dwight Clark is
pretty
famous in his own right.
No question.
Yes.
But yeah, both teams again ranked in the top 10 of the AP poll. First, Mo, we want to take a look at the state wrestling poll.
Yeah.
As you can find it in its entirety on mainstreetpreps.com or right here on your screen. But if you need to look at it a little longer than we do, you see Baylor there sits atop the poll with, of course, Cleveland. Summit dropped. I think Summit was 4 at one point, but I think they may have dropped to 5th. I'm not sure.
They were 5th last week, so that's right about where they've been. They've got a big match tonight at senior night as Independence comes in there for the wrestling version of the border battle, and varsity wrestling is supposed to start around 7. So
scheduled.
Yeah.
You look at the rest of this NBA sitting at 6, Wilson Central. I like that. I kind of like how they just throw everybody in a big pot and rank 12 teams. But
I
also
don't know that the small schools are necessarily represented here. I'm not sure. But I tell you what,
like Lakeway Christian would be a small school, wouldn't they? See, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're a Division II school, but I don't know. I don't know. I just know that.
So how is wrestling divided up?
Wrestling is divided into in Division I, it's large schools, small schools. So it's one of two. So it's a 50-50 split. And then Division II, I don't know if that's large or small. I think it's large and small, certainly for duels, which is what this poll is primarily a measure of, dual meet strength. It's based on voting by a panel of high school coaches across the state. And I can tell you that John Kramer and Ken Hammonds and the guys in the room over at Wilson Central are really looking at this number 7 ranking and going, okay. They probably
Just let us know.
Anytime, any place, anywhere, it's going to be interesting. The state duels are coming up here in about 3 weeks or so, I guess. And you would think it's going to be some combination of Cleveland's Bradley, Summit, and Wilson Central in that Final Four when that takes place. So it's going to be fun to watch.
How do they just how does Cleveland and Bradley Central keep being so good despite being in the same place?
It's a heck of a question. It really is. And, Pete Miller could probably give us a lot of insight into that as a Cleveland graduate. But it's been that way,
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of people that will tell you that Chattanooga is kind of the birthplace of scholastic wrestling in Tennessee. And Cleveland and Bradley just both really gravitated to it early and grabbed a hold of it and got behind it. And, you would think that one of the two schools would suffer as a result of the other, but they've managed to each create their own identity, and they both managed to clearly compete at a high level for a extensive period of time. So I don't know how they both managed to coexist as successfully as they do and have for as long as they have, but it's something to watch. I bet going over there for a duel, when you talk about bucket lists, you talked about games that you'd like to see, football games that you'd like to see at the state high school level. And I know you're not a huge wrestling fan, but I think you appreciate it. I bet that would be a duel that would just be out of control. Yeah.
I would enjoy it for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on to the AP basketball polls. We start with the boys. Class 4A. Interesting here with, I probably wouldn't have expected William Blunt to be atop this poll, and it looks even weirder as you see they only have one first place vote, with Bartlett getting 6 of the 10 first place votes and still finishing second somehow. And then look at Independence, Hillsboro right there.
Independence at number 4. Franklin, which defeated Independence by 2, unranked.
Independence gets their chance to avenge that loss on Friday.
Yes, they do.
So will that be? It's at Franklin.
It's at Franklin.
See, you get that win on the road, and it's even better than that
neutral court. Yeah.
Shot. So
it should be interesting, and obviously Franklin going to be playing without Christian Brown, who suffered that season-ending leg injury up at Hillsboro last week. So yeah,
and that was a great basketball game too. Hillsboro, really good basketball.
That was a great basketball game. Hillsboro is a really good team, and as we talked to Jason Tigert, Christian Brown was that missing link kind of in terms of being a rim protector and that kind of thing, and an interior presence for Franklin. And so they're kind of having to shift on the fly without him, figure out how to be successful. Lost to Centennial last week in district play. And so, Yeah, that should be an interesting ball game tomorrow night.
Also, Gallatin coming in at number 8. We've
Up a spot.
talked to their head basketball coach, Bobby Luna, earlier.
Not that Bobby.
Not that Bobby Luna, for those in Alabama. But in Class 3A, Lawrence County, who coming off that loss to Page,
Only dropped a spot.
Still drops just one spot, 17-3 on the year. And that's pretty much it.
Livingston Academy, a unanimous number 1.
Yeah, Livingston Academy, undefeated, untied, unbeaten, untied.
But I'm pretty sure they've been scored upon.
But they have been scored upon.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is again, Class 3A is weird because we don't have a whole lot of Middle Tennessee teams to kind of throw in here. So we move on to Class 2A. And Class 2A, East Nashville. It's East Nashville and everybody else. Again, also undefeated and untied.
And unanimous at the top.
And unanimous, obviously defending state champion. Fairview coming in at number 2. You got Cascade out of Bell Buckle over there at number 7. And then Cheatham County sitting at number 9. A little surprise there. Where is it? Power Center. What is that?
Memphis.
Okay. I would have guessed that if I had to. If you'd asked me just anywhere, I would have. That's what I would have guessed.
Yeah. You can tell how impressive they are when you look at that 12-8 record and they're still in the top 10.
I bet that schedule is
brutal. Gotta be.
In Class A, Clay County, they just play basketball there and apparently football too now. Richland, as we mentioned, top 3 there. East Robertson right behind Richland. Would love to see that. Eagleville, who actually has a win over Richland this year, sitting at number 6. Gordonsville at 7. McKenzie, which is just on the edge of the Middle Tennessee line, at number 8. And, Class A, this is going to be I'm interested because I don't know much about Middleton, obviously. They're 12-1. That's great.
You've heard of them, or you've heard of one of their alumni anyway.
Yeah.
Stevie Hamer.
I mean, and Kate. Oh, sorry. Not Kate Middleton. I didn't know. Hamer. It's interesting. Would not have known that. Class A, I'm interested to see how that plays out this year because I do think there are a lot of great Middle Tennessee teams that can find their way to Murfreesboro. In Division 2, it's Briarcrest, also the unanimous number 1, just ahead of Brentwood Academy, 14-2 on the year. MBA, Christian Brothers, and CPA rounding out the top 5, while Knox Catholic and Knox Webb both receive votes in Class 2A. In Class A, Good Pasture, it's them and just about everybody else. Boyd Buchanan did get a first-place vote, though. Interested there. And then, of course, Davidson Academy coming in at 4. Still no Columbia Academy not even receiving votes, interestingly enough. But neither the middle region of that is by far the toughest. I mean, you're talking Clarksville Academy, you're talking Columbia Academy, Webb School. It is brutal. And
they've all kind of beaten each other because in like a span of less than a week, I think, Webb beat Columbia Academy, BGA beat Webb, and Columbia Academy beat BGA. So it's one of those on any given night regions, I think.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either at all. On to the girls, starting with Class 4A. Bearden.
How about Gallatin girls sneaking in at number 10?
How about
17-2?
17-2. That's. I mean, sneaking in at 17-2. You think it's a little odd, right? Rockville still coming in. Stewart's Creek at the 7 spots. Cookville at 6. Blackman 19-1. Coffee County 22-1. Bradley Central undefeated. Bearden undefeated. Bearden nearly lost to Alcoa. Alcoa had Bearden beat, and according to Smoky Mountain Sports, Alcoa blew it.
Ooh.
Just couldn't handle the pressure of nearly taking down the undefeated Bearden girls. So a lot of teams at the top there not used to losing. We got 3 combined losses among the top 5 teams. That's pretty good.
That's solid.
Class 3A Upperman, obviously we know Upperman's really good. Creekwood 17-2 on the year. Very, very solid team. How about South Gibson? Katie Embry and the ladies.
There you go.
Getting some votes. In Class 2A, we move on. Westview, who undefeated, very good. The aforementioned Alcoa. I think Alcoa, York Institute, Westview, they've all got a shot to win this thing. Gibson County's never out of it. Summertown, right there at 7. Cheatham County at 8. Mo, I saw that Cheatham County team last year a lot in the playoffs. I'll be interested to see how that region plays out this year with Summertown, Loretto, and Cheatham and Fair. I think I don't know who all else is in that region, but it's a tough cross region. This
Westview team, like you said, undefeated. They got 9 of 10 first place votes, featuring Middle Tennessee State commit and McDonald's All-American nominee Jada Harrison. So
they're solid.
Certainly they bear watching.
They beat Loretto last year. I remember watching that one on NFHS. It was tough to watch because they were so good.
Yeah.
Class 1A, Wayne County, man, they're so good. And all of the teams that we cover are just like, we gotta go play them, including Richland, who sits at 7. Other local area teams are outside the top 10, but Clark Range, we talked about that the last week, and they're just always a threat to win the thing. McKenzie as well. So finally, Division II, Class 2A, Harpeth Hall sits in a tie for number 2. I don't know what the crosses mean, but I do think it's ironic that they use them for Division II.
I don't know what those mean either. Oh, I think that those are for spacing purposes.
Gotcha.
Tabs. Yeah,
that
didn't get it edited out of the publication that we lifted these from.
That's fine. Father Ryan at 5, CPA getting votes, and then Class A, Nashville Christian and Webb.
The voters must have kind of recognized the error of their ways last week when Webb was at 4, because now they're up to 2.
Well, 3 of them ranked them
number one. Yeah.
Ezel Harding also in there, and then Middle Tennessee Christian getting some votes as well. So that's your AP top 10 polls for
or top 5 for D2.
Or top 5 for D2. But, yeah, and of course your wrestling poll as well. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, John Bryce of Football Scoop is going to join us, talk a little transfer portal and more. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. We'll be right back after this.
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
Other guy Wham married the best looking girl Bananarama, so other guy Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Back here on Main Street Sports today with Mo Patton. I'm Chris Yow, and we are excited about this upcoming segment as we have Football Scoops John Bryce joining us here. And John, welcome. Thanks for taking some time on this off-season January.
Gentlemen, Happy New Year, and always good to visit with my friends in Tennessee.
There is no off season. You know that.
I mean, not for him, but,
Yeah.
not in college football and definitely not in the South
Mm-mm.
or where he lives, for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John, we were motivated to reach out to you and try to get you on because as the college football offseason progresses, we've got questions. And the news that Georgia receiver and former Cane standout A.D. Mitchell is in the transfer portal. I mean, this isn't the college football that you and I grew up watching, because typically guys that transfer are disgruntled or disenchanted or whatever. This is a guy who in each of his first 2 years has won a national championship and been a pretty integral part of that for Georgia. And he's on the move. And Chris and I kind of discussed it at length yesterday. And I get it in today's climate. He wants to where he can be the guy in that kind of thing. But it's just really a paradigm that takes some getting used to.
It is, and it's not just the sport that we didn't grow up watching, guys. It's not even the sport we were covering 5 years ago, 3 years ago. It has changed that dramatically in a relatively narrow window of time in the grand scheme of things. And I think Texas, from talking with a number of people, is a very prominent potential destination for Mitchell. In fact, I would call the Longhorns very much the front runner to land his services. And it's as Lane Kiffin said more than once during this past season on the SEC teleconference and in other settings, it really is free agency right now. And the teams that are harnessing the power of their collectives, harnessing the power of their brands, harnessing the power of money that they've gathered in some way, shape, or form are the teams that can get rich quicker, can take from the rich, or can make the rich richer. And that's where it is right now, guys. That's exactly where things are going until the transfer portal kind of irons itself out. And the first step in that was having the window that just closed yesterday and trying to limit things to a 45-day window between the end of the regular season and the start of school around the country. So you had that 45-day window that ran from December 3rd through January 18th. You'll have another 15-day window only at the beginning of May. Those are some attempts to help coaches better manage their rosters, to better have an idea of their roster inventories, and to prevent some of the last minute shifting and moving that we saw start to emerge as pretty prevalent in each of the past two off seasons. But it's where we are right now, guys, and it's not going to continue. The University of Tennessee has done a really nice job with the transfer portal. They're going to continue to make hay in the transfer portal right now. And you've got Deion Sanders. I wrote about it multiple times in the fall, talking about we live in the transfer portal. He said we have an apartment in the transfer portal, and he's been very brash about wanting his team to be primarily made up of transfers, whether that's at Jackson State or moving forward at Colorado. And Sam Pittman has talked about it. It's an unfortunate situation for a lot of high school guys, a lot of guys that would potentially be Power 5 players. I think are still going to get some great opportunities. But the trickle-down effect will be you'll see some better players initially at Group of 5 places like MTSU or even FCS schools. Then you'll see those guys potentially play a couple of years there and jump back up to the FBS level, in my opinion.
And John, I don't ever want to be perceived as being anti-player. I'm for the players. I get it. I don't have a problem with them being able to move. But you mentioned it, coaches being able to manage their rosters under this era of everybody's a free agent. I mean, you've got to recruit your own kids as well as everybody else's, it feels like. I mean, it's a tough spot for them.
It is
no matter where you are in the level of competitiveness, whether you're, Clark Lee or Kirby Smart or anybody in between, it feels like.
Yeah, that's a heck of a good point, Mo. And I'll tell you this, and talking with a friend of mine who has a kid that's in the class of 2023 who has group of 5 scholarship offers, has a number of really attractive FCS scholarship offers. He's being offered NIL money to come as a preferred walk-on to 2 different SEC programs. Let me repeat that. He's being offered NIL money to come as a preferred walk-on. And that's sort of where things are right now. That's what's being dealt with. There are guys earning NIL deals at the SWAC level. There are guys earning NIL deals at the FCS level, at UT Chattanooga, at a number of other programs along those lines. And that's where things are trending for right now. I do think as we look at the mess of a situation with Jaden Rashada and the University of Florida, I do think as you see all of the attrition from Texas A&M, even from Tennessee. Tennessee lost a running back to the transfer portal, if I'm not mistaken, after this season that had been a very much highly regarded ballyhooed part of the Vols recruiting class the previous year. And it was my understanding that Spire Sports Group had worked some NIL opportunities for that kid and helped him become part of Tennessee's signing class a year ago. And now I believe he's already in the transfer portal. So it's chaos now. It's going to continue to be chaos until things settle out and until people realize the return on investment is not really showing up right now. It's much more of a crapshoot at the high school level going into college than it is taking a proven kid out of the transfer portal in college or even what we see in the NFL draft. My boss at Football Scoop, Scott, made a great point this week. He talked about the Rashada kid and the number being thrown around that Florida had allegedly guaranteed up to a $13 million deal for Rashada to come to Florida and be their quarterback via NIL opportunities. The number 31 or 32 pick in the NFL draft last year, the first round pick, mind you, had signed like a 4-year deal worth less than $13 million. I believe the figure was the number 31 or 32 pick in the NFL draft last year at the end of the first round signed a 4-year deal worth a guaranteed $12.55 million. So think about, as you guys know, having the Titans there, covering them and how long you've been around it. Think about all the vetting that these NFL teams do. Think about how much more film they have on guys 3 years minimum coming out of college, usually 4 years. They do FBI background checks. They talk to barbers. They talk to aunts, uncles, high school coaches, guidance counselors. They have all of that, and they gave a first-round pick less than what Florida was allegedly going to give a high school quarterback that looks like a really attractive prospect with tremendous upside, but wasn't even the number 1 quarterback in any of the ranking services.
I know you've got a point that you're burning to bring up, but John, as you talked about the NIL numbers that are being thrown around at recruits, I didn't think NIL was supposed to be discussed until you got on campus. Now, am I wrong or am I just being naive?
Yeah, I guess you're both. No, you're not wrong. You're wrong to believe that would ever have been the case. But no.
It is supposed to be the case, right?
It is supposed to be the case. It is supposed to be no guarantees. It is supposed to be, hey, you come to SEC program XYZ, we're in this market. Here's what our quarterback made last year, or if NIL had been present 3 years ago when we had this all-conference quarterback or running back, based on our market size and our metrics, that person could have earned $250,000 that year based on market demand and market size and his performance on the field. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay. That is not remotely how it is working. Another thing I would point to is that There are unlicensed people acting as agents with some of these collectives and representing these high school kids. There's not the uniform rules that are in place if you want to represent a coach, if you want to represent a player in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. There's just not the level of regulation that there needs to be. And point blank, I had a coach who's very tight with the Florida staff tell me that's part of the issue at Florida right now with the Rashada kid, is that the kid's home in California. He's training. He hasn't necessarily withdrawn his commitment from Florida, but he never enrolled early as was anticipated. And it sounds like that the agent, whoever his agent, quote unquote agent is in this process, is very much in the middle of things.
For the fall of 2022 and the spring of 2023 combined, if you are an out-of-state student and you would like to attend the University of Tennessee as an undergraduate, it would cost you $31,664. As a preferred walk-on, I am here to offer you $31,664 for you to come play at the University of Tennessee. Now you have 86 scholarship athletes instead of 85. This is a serious problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, Chris, and it's going to continue to be that way. Again, I can't stress enough the fact that there are multiple schools out there that are offering preferred walk-ons guaranteed NIL money. There is another school I talked to that talked to a staffer there. This is a brand that's top 10 in college football now and historically or beyond, and he said that they've got guys that are never going to play, that will never have a chance to play at this university, who don't want to leave because of how much they're making off NIL, to be the fourth string tight end, to be the third string right guard, to be the second or third string weak side defensive end. There are schools out there that if you've made it there on scholarship, even if there's been a coaching change or whatever, they're having a hard time getting rid of them because guys are content to stay at this Power 5 school, never play, collect a check, rather than maybe transferring to a different Group of 5 school and play. So
backup quarterback in the NFL, baby. Best job in the world. But, when you're talking about this kind of thing, we know that it's not supposed to be pay for play, but it certainly has become that. Now, once these NIL deals go south, like Jaden Rashada or that backup tight end, and they break that contract, and the person paying said player says, look, you're not even playing.
Right.
Why are we paying you? They break that contract, and then next thing you know, discovery in that lawsuit turns into serious NCAA sanctions, because it's now obvious with documentation that you're paying this kid only to play at Georgia or whatever.
Yeah. Another really good point. Another thing I'll tell you is that it's my understanding as the NCAA, and look, the NCAA has been a bit toothless for a while. It has a number of things it's still trying to address. I don't know if there's been complete final resolution on the Kansas basketball mess, or certainly we're still waiting on complete and final resolution on the University of Tennessee investigation, which is now 25, 26, 27 months, excuse me, ongoing. But my understanding, guys, to your point, is that if the NCAA is interested in talking to some of these student athletes, especially rising high school seniors or maybe kids that have just signed in the 23 class, they're telling them your eligibility is not going to be impacted whatsoever. We want to cut out the NIL people, pardon me, that are so abusing this system, that are driving the pay for play. So finally, in my opinion, the NCAA has wisened up in its approach and isn't looking to punish the kids, which is how it should have been a long time ago. You shouldn't have been punishing the kids. You shouldn't be punishing kids with postseason bans if they weren't a part of all the malfeasance and things of that nature. So I think that is a noteworthy change in the approach based on coaches I've talked to.
John Bryce of Football Scoop at John D. Bryce 1 on Twitter. And if you're not following him, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but he is with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint, talking college football. And John, you made a heck of a point a second ago when you were talking about the third and the fourth string weak side defensive end who isn't going anywhere as long as that check still clears. We were talking either yesterday or the day before about JT Shrout, who is back in the transfer portal, signed with Tennessee in 2018, is leaving Colorado, still has 2 years of eligibility remaining as a grad transfer. And I'm asking, why is this guy still pursuing a playing career at the collegiate level? And I think you just answered it.
Yeah, it's well, you know, for some guys, he's been through so much. Tennessee brought him in late in the recruiting process, initially as part of his career, as he was transitioning out of high school. He didn't play a ton in high school. I remember his recruitment. I talked to people in California who felt that he had really good upside. And so to me, I think the guy believes he can play. He's chasing the dream of playing. He's been through a number of coaching changes. He's been through quarterbacks returning that weren't expected to return. He's been through offensive coordinator changes that weren't the people who recruited him. So it's been really tough for him. He's not had the standard career, and I do think he's just chasing that opportunity to play.
And getting paid.
He probably is, yeah. I mean, look, there was a UT quarterback one of the past couple of years going into the season that hadn't even won the starting job that wanted to be paid heavily for a preseason appearance, wanted multiple thousands of dollars to spend a couple of hours maybe at a department store or something like that in the Knoxville area. So, yeah, these guys, again, I go back to the lack of regulation on who can, quote unquote, be an agent and represent these young kids as they're transitioning from high school into college, or as maybe they've blown up in college after being lightly recruited and they're examining their options, whether or not they're going to stay at their current school or enter the transfer portal and try to get paid via NIL to go to another school. And there's just lack of regulation on the people who are involved there.
And again, John, when you say that these PWOs are being offered guaranteed money, who's offering that?
You know, I think it's like, again, they come visit and they say, well, you know, our program's so big, a fourth string tailback in the SEC can still earn $25,000 a year in NIL money. We feel confident telling you fourth string tailback in the SEC, because of our powerhouse brand, is still going to receive all these number of deals or be a part of this collective that's going to pay you $25,000 over the course of this year for you to come be our fourth string preferred walk-on tailback.
It's impressive. Hey, look, we're all about the players. We want the players to make that money if they can, but it does impact the high school kids. And sometimes, being about the player is also being an advocate for those high school kids. We saw it just, on top of NIL and the transfer portal, you still are dealing with JT Shrouts who have COVID year eligibility. I mean, there are still guys out there with COVID eligibility.
Yeah, and when we talked to former Columbia State baseball coach Mike Korn in the summer of 20, and we addressed the bottleneck that was being created by, the blanket eligibility for COVID athletes and that kind of thing. And he said this was going to take, 4 or 5 years to shake out. And I don't think he's far from wrong. We're probably kind of coming up on certainly 4 years here and now. So that's it's chaos right now. It has been chaos really. Once this got kind of blanket approval and things move forward without a clear vision or without a clear plan for how to try and manage NIL. And again, it's difficult because everybody gets skittish when you talk about managing NIL, because then you run the risk of being accused of antitrust practices. But this is going to have to run its course
and show you the ROI is not where it is. It would. Are you going to spend potentially $13 million on a quarterback in the SEC that you don't know will start, you don't know will lead you to an SEC East Division championship or anything else? So there's a lot of people eager to be a part of NIL right now. There's a lot of people eager to be giving to these collectives right now because it's new. There is that direct connection where you feel like, hey, even if I get $50 a month to this collective is helping our recruiting class so much. Basically, I'm a part of making, my university football program better. And there's a lot to that. There's that connectiveness right now that I think is resonating with a lot of people and driving a lot of this. But there has to ultimately be a return on investment. Is that window for the return on investment 3 years? Is it 5 years? I'm not really sure what that is. But I know also in speaking with personnel directors from around college football, especially throughout the SEC, there's a great nervousness about what happens when a guy gets a $13 million deal allegedly to come be their quarterback and he can't even win the starting job. How pissed off then are the boosters who have pooled their money together to get this guy because he was the greatest thing since sliced bread and the coach doesn't want to play it? Pardon me.
Kind of remind you of the scene in Blue Chips where Penny Hardaway wants to know, if I quit, is my mom going to lose her job? Better show up to practice tomorrow. I mean, it's you're getting way off into the weeds on a lot of stuff. And again, I'm for the players, but there are a lot of unintended consequences coming along with a lot of this stuff.
John, is Lane Kiffin ever going to be able to recruit a high school quarterback?
That's a great question. I mean, look, Ole Miss is aggressive in NIL as well. So if there's a high school quarterback that Lane Kiffin loves and believes he can build his program around for multiple years, then yeah, he'll be able to. I mean, look, Lane Kiffin
until then it's transfer after transfer, huh?
Yeah, and look, it's that way at a lot of places. We'll see what the University of Georgia does. We'll see what Ohio State University does. They just got not a high profile transfer quarterback, but they just got a transfer quarterback from Oregon State this week. So again, there's a number of elements that are going to continue to be in play there. And as the money gets crazy, as the pressure grows on coaches, players, all of the above, that's going to drive more and more shopping in the transfer portal. And again, leaving a lot of high school kids left out. Sam Pittman has talked about how much that concerns him. He's not the only coach. We're all talking about it. And it's real. Now, again, I do think it will have a tremendously positive impact potentially at the FCS level, because you'll see some guys slip through the cracks that these FCS programs will snatch up, continue to develop, and keep for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then watch them jump back up to the big boy levels.
And just maybe that's how we get parity in college football. So maybe it's not so bad after all, folks. Anyway, John Brice of footballscoop.com. John, thanks for taking some time with us today on this Thursday. We appreciate you, man.
You got it. Thanks a lot for the invite, guys. Have a great new year.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break here. Way too early, top 25 right after this. Main Street Sports Today. Coming your way. Just a moment.
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat.
She's on Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions, and Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang. It is, in fact, Alyssa Lang.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to lower the bar for guests now.
Oh, no.
Like, apologies in advance. It sounds like
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
You got that radio voice.
I do.
It's a good sound.
Thanks for radio too.
As do we. And then here's the other thing. You guys, you're spot on with the name. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. So,
and we reach every Main Street in Middle Tennessee, Coach.
Yeah, that's it. So
Perfect.
when you're on Main Street and you are moving,
you gotta love it.
Like you're moving. I was impressed.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. The Athletic released its way too early top 25 for college football next season. And
it is indeed.
It is indeed way too early, but I've got some thoughts here as we take a look at it, Mo. If you really look at this, outside of Georgia, outside of the top three, because they've been there the last couple of years, right? LSU, Bama, Penn State, Southern Cal, Florida State, Washington,
Texas Christian.
Those schools right there from LSU to Washington, all of them have, other than Alabama, which again, they're kind of in that top four range, they all have quarterbacks coming back. And I think that's a huge deal. You look at where Tennessee is ranked behind Cam Rising in Utah, Bo Nix at Oregon.
Is Bo Nix back?
Bo Nix is coming back for
goodness.
he started as a freshman. It doesn't seem like, seems like he's been playing forever, but he did start as a true freshman. But, I don't know about Notre Dame's.
Sam Hartman.
They've got Hartman.
Yeah.
So that right there, the question mark of Tennessee's quarterback situation is why they're ranked at 14 and why Clemson's 15. And, honestly, I don't hate most of this. I don't know what Florida State has done.
I mean, that said, are you surprised that North Carolina's not ranked higher than 20th with Drake May coming back?
I am a little, especially with Wisconsin ahead of them. I don't know what, other than having Luke Fickell, what has Wisconsin done to prove that they need to be there? Iowa, are you kidding me? We watched that team just be god awful. There's no way Iowa deserves to be in the top 25. Wisconsin does not deserve to be in the top 25. Texas Tech, I can see they weren't bad,
but A&M,
they're in there as a token. I mean, you could put Troy there, and I'd feel a lot more. How about the group of 5 teams with the T's? That's what we got to have here: Texas, San Antonio, Tulane, and Troy. Apparently you need a T to be good in the group of 5. But I don't hate the top 10. I don't think TCU deserves to be in the top 10. I really don't. Excuse me. Nor does Texas Christian.
Thank you.
Either one of them. I don't think either of them deserve to be in the top 10. I don't know why they would be there other than Sonny Dykes is a miracle worker. Outside of that, though, I think the top 15, those are going to be the top 15 teams. Now, they end up.
Yeah, they'll be the top 15 in some order, not necessarily in that order. But yeah, to be way too early, it's probably pretty solid. Pretty solid grouping again.
Yeah, grouping wise. So, and again, I think having a quarterback is the most important thing.
Quarterback driven sport.
Now, what Georgia does, I don't think matters. Michigan, I think, is Michigan, Ohio State. They don't play anybody, so whatever. Alabama's going to be good no matter what, and so now I think it's a solid list.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
We'll talk a little bit more tomorrow. I got some Titans news that came out today that we need to get to. We'll get to that. We're going to get guests tomorrow.
I don't have any guests lined up at this moment, but we'll probably try to talk some hockey.
We will talk a little Preds as well. So come back tomorrow at 2:00 on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll see you then.